Good afternoon and welcome back to Tiny Stitches TV. Today we're going to be looking at some tips and pointers on how to do the June Saturday sampler. The block is going to look like this. This is the batik block. And here we have the cotton block. We're going to be focusing only on the center block, which will be 4.5 inches before you sew it into your block. It's going to be a square and a square with split triangles on the corners. The first thing that I do to prepare my fabric is I like to give my fabric a lot of body, so I spray it with Best Press and press it. This is before I make any cuts at all. When I cut my 3.5 inch squares, I cut my two fabrics together. The reason I do this is when I get ready to cut them into the 4 triangles, once I cut my diagonal cuts, then I can just lift the triangles in pairs, sew my seams, and I've minimized handling because you're going to have four bias edges. For the next piece, we're also going to have a lot of bias edges. The next piece is the center of our square. It's cut to 4.5 inches, but we're going to take our companion ruler and we're going to give it a new shape. First, you're going to draw from corner to corner. Then you're going to lay your companion ruler on it, and you've got several points of reference that you want to be looking for. First, you want to follow the line for your 4.5 inch line on the bottom of your square. You also want to make sure that the short edge of the ruler is at the top of your block. And the third place to look is there's a line right down the middle of the ruler that should be exactly in the center of the X you've just drawn. Then you're going to take your rotary cutter and cut those corners off. If you don't have the companion ruler, the measurement you're going to be looking for to cut those corners off is 2 1/8 inches. Once you've cut your corners off, my next tip is to use a pin. You want to line your split triangle up with the center right on your pencil line. And I went ahead and pinned mine, and I put my pin in a different place. I put my pin almost to the center of my X to secure it. And the reason I did this is because when I finish this block, I want the center of my seam to come right to the corner. So I don't want any movement on this. When you've completed your seam, you're going to be pressing this with the seam allowance to the center. You've got a lot of bias, you've got bias edges all the way around your square, so you want to press very carefully. Next, you're going to take your fit to be quarter ruler and you're going to square this block up back to the original 4.5 inches. Some lines to look for. You want to line it up with the 4.5 inches on the outside, and on your background piece it should be exactly at the 4.5 inches. You should also be coming across on a diagonal line at 2 1/4 inches, and this diagonal should run right through the corner of your split triangle. So you're going to cut 2 sides. Then turn your block and cut one more. Now your block is it's back to 4 inches plus a tail. Your block is back to 4.5 inches. From here you're going to do the same thing that you did when it was a whole square. I would turn it over again so you'll have your point of reference with the center of the block. Again, lining it up with the 4.5 inch line on the bottom, checking the top to be sure that it's square, and checking the middle for your X in your pencil line. Cut your 2 1/8 inch corner off again. Time for a sharp new blade. And now you're ready to sew your last 2 triangles on. When you're done, you'll go back to your fit to be quarter ruler again and square it up just like we did before. It's not a difficult block to do. If you have any questions, please feel free to come in the shop. And you can see my samples. I'm in the shop Monday through Wednesday. Please feel free to come by and have a tutorial in person, and everyone else in the shop would be happy to help you as well. See you next time.